Sunday night is here with us once again, and that only means one thing. Scorecard is live on Citi TV. And as far as sports is concerned, it's been a weekend of mixed emotions. So we said our final farewells to Christian Atsu on Friday. Ghanaian winger. He might as well be a legend because AFCON 2015 player of the tournament, goal of the tournament. He's done it all, played for Newcastle, played for Everton. We said our final goodbyes. His wife and kids were down here. Representatives from some of the teams he's played for, Hataya Sport and the like. So that was a good send-off for Christian Atsu at the State House. On the football front, Chelsea Football Club, they were brought right back to earth. The Porter out shouts are just about returning again. We'll see if they will get a little louder or not. Man United had FA Cup action. It was a bit of a scare for them. And then it was Arsenal Football Club seeking to bounce back after a rough week in the Europa League. So a lot to digest. El Clasico is also happening as we speak now. So we'll try our very best to see if we can bring you visuals on that particular one. But it's a loaded show today. There's Ghana Premier League action as well. Susu Graham is here. Gabriel Ofer is here sitting in for Coach Nimley. Our regular coach has a little issue there, so a little bug there, so he can be with us. So Gabriel Ofer will be making his scorecard debut. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Nice to have you. Let's get it cracking. I mean, Ghana Premier League action. Gabi, let me start off with you. You were at an Accra Hearts of Oak game today. That game was against Kotoku Royals. Hearts of Oak managing to win. It's been tough times for them for a bit. What did you make of that particular game, even before we go for the highlights? Just quick thoughts.
Well, Ben, I think it was a very, very frustrating afternoon. Look, the way they are very inefficient up front, it came to bear again in a game against Kotoku Royals. I don't know what the mindset was against a side that was struggling in the Ghana Premier League. That's Kotoku Royals, who are already relegated. Because if you look at the point on the Ghana Premier League, they are, I think, about 17 points or so. I stand to be corrected, but it looks like they are done and dusted. You can't count them in as part of the teams.
Their coach says that there's a whole bunch of matches to come, so there's still...
I mean, coaches will always say their stuff, but it's to the House of Oak game, I think that, look, they need to get the up-fronts running, especially if they have anything to do with regards to the league pursuit or their title credentials this season. And, I mean, I listened to Coach Oklu talking about the fact that they are still working on. I think I've heard him speak about that several times. Yeah. But every time
finishing the chances.
Every time they get into games, it's just repetitive. It keeps coming back. It doesn't seem like they've done anything to the previous blushes up front. So, but in general, you know, the goal came out, I think, around 96 minutes. That was almost the dying embers. Yeah, the late.
I was following on Twitter. So the Hearts of Oak account tweeted there's 5 minutes of added time. Now I think about 2 minutes later they tweeted goal. Something like that.
And that's very typical of Caleb Obankwa, especially under Samuel Boadu. You know, he nicked in a lot of those late goals.
He scored a lot of late goals for them.
Yeah, so at the stadium, I even told somebody that, look, it's just a matter of time. If Hearts of Oak really want to close the gap on the Diana Stars, I think that they have to count on somebody needs to take up that responsibility. And I think that Caleb Obankwa did well. But I think, in general, if you monitor the sense from the House of Oak faithfuls, that they were very, very frustrated at the way the team... it's not like they were not creating chances.
They created a lot of chances.
They created a lot of chances.
They just can't put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just give viewers a sense of what we are discussing. So let's get the visuals on that one. Let's do Samatex versus Asante Kotoko first, and then we'll do Accra Hearts of Oak versus Kotoku Royals.
Here's a Sabon suit. Good dribble pass, Afo. Confident play from the left back, Kila Lamte. He sends one low. Here's Morrison for Kotoko. Morrison! And that's the opening goal for Kumasi Asante Kotoko. In a Morrison puts the porcupines ahead. In the Timber City. Went down by Rocky Jama. His awareness to pick out Lamte. Lamte went low. Sabutela failed to control, but Morrison was precise.
Yeah, he knows he has that power in that left boot.
He steps up in Summer Boy. Yes, Kayake! Asari doesn't make a first time save, but hey, he's able to save Asante Kotoko. Here's Lante, could have gone for the first time. He hangs on. Lante, therefore takes a deflection. Here's him straight there. Rocky Jabna, And that's Kotoku's second goal. Here in Summer Boy, a debut goal in his debut start for Kotoku.
Samatex couldn't deal with the ball the first time, and Lante has shown his prowess. Blasted the ball, took a ricochet, but in Fege twisted and turned, and the ball fell for Jamina. What a hit! Super hit!
It's a big goal. Sawanu delivers. Here's Aqua! And Aqua brings Samatex back in it. It's game on. Bring it on, say Samatex. The full one back.
Get the free kick. There seems to be no problem here. And they expect Kotoku to deal with it. Once you miss the head, oh my answer. But no, he blasted the ball, put laces through here. Here should be a calm, composed finish from Isaac Mensah.
Adu heads the ball down nicely. Good ball by Accra Hearts of Oak. That was a late challenge, which gives Accra Hearts of Oak a free kick. Trying to turn the player inside out. Again, it was Kweku Owusu with that late challenge. Together with the men in front of him, the likes of Abanga, the likes of Richard Mensah. Free kick is on. And it's headed in! That man has been probing with every set piece that Accra Hearts of Oak have taken today. And he did not put his teammates to shame. He may get the marching orders, yes. Kalaba Mankwa goes off. And he goes off in style. Kick. And
so Accra Hearts of Oak nicking it late, putting their fans on edge, but in the end getting it done. Let me just take your thoughts on that. Like Gary said, Hearts of Oak have made a habit of having to wait late to score goals, and they've generally been wasteful this season.
I always say the first step is creating the chances. You're always in good state when you're creating the chances and you're giving yourself the opportunity to score. But if you consistently are not taking the chances, then it becomes a problem, because it's not every day you're going to be clinical. There's some days you create one chance, you score one goal. There's some days you create 10, you score 3.
Sure.
That's just how football is. So if it's a consistent problem, then it's something to be worried about. And we even saw one earlier in the highlights where for me, the problem with that was not even the fact that he missed. It's how badly he missed. Like, the ball is dropping to you. You can't, guide it towards the goal. He just swung his leg and blazed it over.
Yeah, that's Isaac Mensah.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Isaac Mensah has been guilty of missing a lot of opportunities for Accra Hearts of Oak.
And look, you can...
Isaac Mensah and Kojo Bain Jr.
Yeah, you see,
clearly
they are good players because they are getting the right position. Their teammates are creating opportunities. But if you keep doing that, you're going to cost the team. So I always say, once you're creating chances, it's fine. But after a while, to ask yourself, and this is the same thing we've spoken about with Chelsea the whole season. The chances are coming. They are not being taken. So what's the solution? Is it to change the players, change the setup? I don't know. But it's very poor. But if they keep finishing like that, there's no way they are catching Adriana.
Well,
it's that simple. So if they want to win the title, they need to be more efficient.
Efficiency is the name of the game, honestly. Also, we are getting the hints that Hearts of Oak might be sorting out their issues with Slavko Matic. Now, don't forget that Matic had his little altercation with the fans just before the Super 2 clash with Asante Kotoko. He's not been in the dugout for them ever since. We've spoken to the club, especially with the leaders of the fan base, and they say that management is working out a solution for Matic. We don't know if issues will be resolved for him to come back. We don't know if there's going to be a termination, but it's interesting days ahead for Accra Hearts of Oak. Let's see how that all plays out. Let's get to Europe.
I just want to say something. The solution for them is to pay him the remainder of the money he's owed on his contract and let him go. Because they've created an unsafe work environment for him by allowing the fans to come and accost him. It's different if the fans show up to training and protest. It happens. That's not the issue. But for them to come and start physically manhandling the coach and not allowing him to train. You can come and protest, you can come and make noise, but to physically stop him from leading training, that's a problem. And he's well within his rights to leave.
Again, I mean, he reported that incident to the police, and like I've said, these things are shameful for me because it happened with David Duncan when he was at Asante Kotoko. I remember.
There's a bad precedent.
I remember one time he went to Adako Jache and supporters had locked the training ground.
They went to find a chain and padlock.
Chain and the padlock, exactly.
And the security guards watched them do it.
It's amazing, but
rubbish.
I mean, these are Stone Age tactics. Like in modern day football, like Susu said, you are well within your rights as a fan to protest if you think that the coach's tactics are bad or the team's form is poor. But to go to the extent of physically stopping somebody from carrying out their work, I think that's unacceptable. And honestly, we still haven't heard officially from Accra Hearts of Oak on that particular incident, on whether they condemn it, on whether there will be guidelines in future to deal with these things if they happen. So, interesting days ahead.
And their lack of action is making people feel like they allowed it to happen, or if not encouraged it. The club needs to take a stand. They need to show they are serious about it.
It's a very interesting issue, but let's crack on with some other highlights. Let's move on to Europe now. Let's get to England, where Southampton Football Club were in action. They were supposed to be the whipping boys. Tottenham will be really wondering how they let this one slip. Antonio Conte went on a tirade after this game as well. 3-3 is how this one ended. Let's get to the action at St. Mary's. So very interesting game there with interesting talking points as well. The penalty that gave Southampton the equalizer through Ward-Prowse. Very, very heated debate on that one so far. So let me start with you. 3-3, interesting game, but Spurs will have reason to feel a little hard done by.
Hard done by. They were careless. I think that's the word to describe. They were careless because you are 3-1 up. And you concede 2 goals against one of the worst teams in the league. That's careless. It doesn't matter they are home. And
they conceded that second goal right off the stroke of halftime. Like immediately halftime, the second half started.
Yeah, they were exactly. So even then, there were quite a few careless moments. Look, the penalty was controversial. I thought it was soft. I was surprised VAR didn't overturn it because there was a long.
Because he had a long look at it.
I believe he went to the monitor as well. You know, look, but the thing is, I understand because you swing your leg and miss, and you make contact with the man. It's a foul. And I always say this about penalties. If it's a foul outside the box,
it's a foul inside the box.
And it's a foul inside the box. Once a foul, if it was happening in the center circle and they gave the free kick, and you wouldn't shout and argue, why is it a free kick outside the box? Just because inside the box doesn't change that. I understand that it's not always they are giving, but that's because referees want to be 100% sure. Because remember, referees miss a lot of things. But if they miss something in the center circle, you don't shout about it. When they miss something in the box, you shout. So look, for me, it was a very soft penalty, but I can understand why it was given. And once you put yourself in that situation, there's nothing you can do. And we heard Antonio Conte's rant. I thought that was very unprofessional.
I don't think this is not the first time.
I don't.
He's been throwing his players under the bus all season.
I don't like his behavior, honestly.
Is this how it's always been? I mean, I
he throws tantrums when things don't go well.
I remember Conte at Chelsea. I remember a few times where he would criticize Diego Costa. I remember the cheesecake incident. There was a time where he placed a nutrition ban on certain things to eat. And a reporter snitched on Diego Costa that Diego Costa had cheesecake. And he listened to the reporter speak and said, he didn't know Costa had cheesecake. If he knew, he would have asked for some. A bit of some. And I could tell from his face that he was refraining from criticizing Costa like in front of the press.
I think that was because things were going well. They could win the league. He just kind of let.
He didn't want to destroy. He
didn't want to destroy. But now that the team is not performing, things are not going well. He's just and look, you are in a situation where you have 3 months left on your contract. You are waiting for a new one to be signed, and you are talking like this. If I'm Spurs, why would I offer him a contract? Because you are basically saying that I can't work with this squad. That's the subtext.
And he's been whining all season.
So at this point, if I'm Spurs, I think they should cut their losses.
No, I feel like you're even being friendly to him. He said some very incendiary stuff. He said stuff like, this is why Spurs have not won in the last 20 years. They don't.
You were brought here to change that.
They lack ambition. They don't like playing under pressure. They don't like playing under.
You have been brought to change
because you were the supposed winner.
So why are you saying this? But I believe he's also saying that to also say, look, Mourinho came here, proven winner, nothing happened. Me to have come here, nothing has happened.
So at this point, it must be the DNA of the team.
But you don't say that. That's something you tell your friends in secret. You don't come and say that at a press conference.
Exactly.
And honestly, even if I'm Spurs, it's the international break. You You can sack him now and find a coach, honestly. If they sack him, I won't even hold it against them. I'm not a fan of pulling the trigger on man. You know, I'm someone who likes to give managers time and let them fail, because the truth is you have to reach a point where you are failing. At this point, he's still successful because they are still in the top 4, blah blah blah, or they are 5th. There's still a chance for them.
At least,
But look, after that press conference, if they sacked him, if we hear on Monday he's gone, I won't be surprised, and I'll say good riddance at this point. Look, I'm a big fan of Antonio Conte. I said it. Remember, I said it that I thought they would win the league. That's how much belief I had.
That's how quality the squad is. You can't have Perisic and Richarlison, Kane, and Son, and think that you don't have a good enough squad.
Son's regression has hurt them. But look, I'm tired of Antonio Conte. I'm a big fan of him. And the truth is, I would have liked him at AC Milan at a point. But if this is how he's going to behave when things don't go wrong, I don't think that winning mentality and trophies is enough to play it out. And in fact, Man U said these were the type of things that were why they didn't hire him, and they are being proved right.
Interesting thoughts on Conte and Spurs there. Gabi, quick thoughts on Kamaldeen. I said that he perhaps had his best game in a Southampton shirt, and ironically, it's a game in which he didn't start. Which things stood out for you, and what can he carry forward going into his other performances?
Well, when I saw the lineup with Walcott in, I was asking myself questions why he was dropped, but apparently it was because he wasn't adding that bit of bite they were looking for up front. But later when he came on, I think he was very effective because I monitored the comments that were coming, especially from the Saints corner, and they were like, he added some bit of urgency up front there. I mean, I think Kamaldeen Sulemana, if you look at the way prior to his move to Southampton, there were questions raised about the move to the club and whether he was going to get playing time and all that. And I think he's struggling to really get himself adapted well to the Premier League, because, look, the Premier League is not that place where you get so many touches on the ball. You need to do things quicker. And especially when you're in the final third, that is where you need to tell your players that, or the players you're playing around with, that you can be very effective. So in what, I think 4 games, 5 games, he started with, I think this has been his best game.
And I think the second goal started off a pass where he made a run through the middle, laid off the ball, and then they were up the races, crossed the ball, and so it was a good run for him.
We can only hope that he would build on this performance going into the next game, because, look, Southampton are in a very, very tricky situation. They need points to get out of that zone. And I was looking at the Premier League table, I think from 12 to 20, it's just 4 points. And Southampton are just
it's a very steep relegation
if you are able to go on like a 3-game winning,
even 2 games will get them out of the relegation zone.
You would find yourself way up there. And you see, coaches will always rely on the experienced players. They don't have time for players who would now get themselves into
warm up. You need to warm up to get going.
And especially looking at the situation of Southampton, if it was like a mid-table team, probably maybe a Leeds or something, I don't know where, but
even
Leeds are also they're just hovering above the relegation slot.
Because there's about 8 or 9 teams in this relegation fact. This season,
there's no mid-table really.
Really, the mid-table is Aston Villa and Chelsea. Actually, I won't even say Aston Villa. It's Aston Villa, because even Chelsea can kind of push up and eventually get 7th or 6th if they kind of pick up some form. So really, the mid-table is Aston Villa. Then there's the top half, and then
there's the relegation strugglers. Honestly, that's the truth. Well, let's display the text and WhatsApp lines on your screen there, so you can send us your thoughts. Chelsea fans, what did you make of that performance in your team against Everton? We'll be getting to the highlights of that one. But Spurs fans, if there are any of you out there, big shout outs to Nana Boache Adam. I'm sure he's all the way somewhere in the north of Africa. Big Chelsea, big Spurs fan. And then there's also Eric Alagidede. So a lot of Spurs fans in this country, but they hide themselves. Their glory days are not around yet, so you don't find lots of them talking. But let me know how you feel about Antonio Conte's tenure. Teddy Sheringham has said pretty blatantly that Conte's tenure has not been what they expected, getting knocked out of all the cup competitions. And then that Champions League exit was very unceremonious as well. So let me know what you think about that. If there are any Ghanaian fans out there, talk to me about Kamaldeen. I thought he had a very decent game. His decision-making was crisp. He was very direct on the ball. He took very few touches when he had an opportunity, laid off the pass to teammates when he could, and was very incisive, really. That's what we need from him as he continues his growth We'll see what happens with Southampton as the season wears on. But let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll get into that Chelsea game with Everton. It was nice, it was dramatic, and it had everything you wanted to see. Stay with us here on Scorecard. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. There was a lot of drama in that game between Everton and Chelsea. I predicted it. I said that there was an Onana and Gray masterclass coming. People said that I should call them a certain name if Chelsea didn't win the game by 2 clear goals. In the end, it was Everton Football Club who ended up being a pain in Chelsea's wrong side. So 2-2 is how it ended. Sims was the one who was doing the magic at the end of the day. Joao Felix was on target and all. A lot of talking points again in this game. But let's get to that game. It ended 2-2 between Chelsea and Everton. Yes, so Sims getting that equalizer there. I was hoping to catch that equalizer, but in the end, I mean, Everton 2, Chelsea 2. That's how it played out. Controversial circumstances. Koulibaly letting Sims out of his sight for a split second, and he took advantage of it. I thought that was a brilliant substitution because he came off the bench. This was supposed to be a game Chelsea was supposed to win comfortably.
I expected Everton to struggle to create chances, but we always knew Everton had the set piece threat. So them scoring their first goal from a set piece was not a concern. I expected them to score at least goal. The second goal was a much more of a surprise because you look at that goal and Koulibaly on top form is dealing with that. The Koulibaly we know is not kind of moving at Sims the wrong way and kind of falling off balance. I don't know what happened to him there. Look, mistakes happen. I don't want to say it's...
He's not been great for Chelsea.
No, he has not. He has not.
What could be the problem? He's not old. He's supposed to be in his prime. It's not like he's in decline.
Yeah, and I don't want to say age because we are seeing Thiago Silva, who has lost his pace and agility, still being a solid defender for Chelsea. I don't want to say age is the reason. Maybe he's just struggling to adapt because remember, even Thiago Silva, his first few games at Chelsea were not the best. I think Lampard was playing a higher line. He had to cover more ground. Yeah. So, look, it takes some time, but that goal, I mean, there was no reason he should have gone in. I think Kepa also didn't cover himself in glory with his attempt to save the ball. I think between Kepa and Koulibaly, one of them should have made sure that wasn't a goal. So that's very disappointing. But look, it's the same old story for Graham Potter. They create chances, they don't take them. They are a bit sloppy in their defense. Individual mistakes costing them. And look, at the end of the day, I always say, even if your team creates 100 chances in the game and you lose 1-0, because your keeper can't control a back pass. Played from... Remember that back pass Pedri scored at the Euro 2020 where he kind of passed it from 50. If that's the goal you lose the game by, and aside that you have 100% possession, 50 shots on target, you know that kind of thing. No one cares because you lost the game. And that's on the manager. The manager is going to have to ask him to take responsibility. Why did we lose the game? So for me, even if there's individual mistakes, I'll say Graham Potter has taken at least 50% of the blame. And that's the problem here. The results, you are judged by your results. No one cares how and why the results happen. Because for me, Koulibaly lost them that game in the sense that was 3 points that they should have had if Koulibaly had been able to do a simple. Because Sims was not in such a...
First touch took him right in front of Koulibaly. So he was stuck in a...
The guy was not even pacing.
To be fair to Koulibaly, I think that sometimes we are a little hard on defenders because that Sims' first touch was really good. His first touch took him right in front of Koulibaly. So now he was in a hard place and he was running. If he touched Sims a tad little, it would have been a penalty.
See, a defender of his experience should be able to shepherd Sims towards the line. If you get what I'm saying, I'm not saying that he should have taken the ball, but the fact that Sims managed to get a clean shot because of his kind of the way he went and lost his balance. I'm not saying that, Koulibaly should have got it. I'm just saying that his inability to deal with something that was not too dangerous. It's not like Sims got the ball at 6 yards out. He had work to do. That's all I'm saying.
There was a lot of work to do.
Exactly. That's where I'm coming from. Not to say that, it was Koulibaly just gave him the goal back. Koulibaly could have done more to make it more difficult. So look, at the end of the day, Graham Potter has to deal with it. The results are not good enough. I still believe he won't be sacked. I still think he's gotten that credit. They trust him enough to give him the beginning of next season.
It's a long-term project.
But things need to things need to get better because if he continues like this next season, I don't see him lasting to October.
Ooh. Just quick thoughts on that Chelsea performance. Havertz back on form. Looks like they have a stable midfield in Kovacic and Enzo now. And then this type of result. I thought Chelsea were making certain strides. What are your observations personally from that game?
Well, I think it's typical Chelsea. I mean, I think this game, they created a lot of chances, but they were unable to bury them. And especially, for me, I've always had a problem with why Graham Potter, even under Tuchel, I think we were seeing that, why Havertz is always being played as a 9. Mm-hmm. Yeah, your false 9, you want to call it.
You don't have other options.
Yeah. I think that even the Ivorian who was brought in, that's Datro Fofana, plays quite, because if you look at the way they played against Everton, there were moments where they were trying to have Havertz hold on to the ball and have players pick up the runs around him. And Havertz is not that player. If you look at the way he was playing at Bayer Leverkusen, I think he was flourishing more of like a second striker or a 10. Yeah. And
drop into pockets of spaces, use space to work around.
So if I think Tuchel started it, and Potter has picked up from where Tuchel left off. And that's not helping Chelsea. Chelsea created a lot of chances against Everton, and if they had clinical strikers, I don't think that they would clinch a point. I think they would have scored more goals because, look, the players, Pulisic, he's not been in, and he's had a lot of injuries
in
and
all
all
out
that.
of the team.
They've brought in a lot of players. Mudryk is now adapting. Sterling, he's not been the best. You look, Potter always keeps changing the team. You don't get that cohesion you're looking for, especially for the up front there. So I think he'll pick a lot of the blames, like Susu said. And I for instance, I wasn't really happy with the substitutions he did. That's Fofana Wesley was arguably the best defender in that back three. Then you yank him off. You bring in another player. You see, it distorts the way the team plays, and that's where Everton pick up the advantage, and they were able to get the equalizer. So I think Potter needs to look at the substitutions he makes and try and get a very, very good attacking system that would work for him. Because if it doesn't, I don't think
I'm just surprised that they've not been playing Datro Fofana. He might not have scored. I've seen him a couple of times. His runs up front have been incisive. His body language has been good. I'm just surprised they're not using him.
I think Datro Fofana is suffering from his transfer fee.
When
you have players like players of higher reputation, like
bigger salaries,
bigger transfer fees, it's like almost like the coach feels they need to play them, And then you look at Datro Fofana, who joins for 9 million, 12 million. It's very easy to say, to make him an afterthought. I think certain players are playing based on their transfer fee because it becomes a case of you've paid this much money for a player. He has to be in the team. I think certain players are getting that privilege. So other players are being, kind of hurt by that. And I think that's a thing that happens in every team, but it's just a bit unfair because it's one of those things. You feel like Fofana gives a different edge. At least he should be on the bench.
He's strong, he's pacey.
He doesn't even make the bench.
I find that crazy because he's strong. Like I said, he's pacey, he's athletic.
My thing is,
he has a good dribble on him.
Even that, he has a different profile to all the
everybody.
Other guys.
Exactly.
You don't like Aubameyang, fine, but Fofana is still there. So look, you need to have the different profiles. You need to integrate him because every player has been bought for a reason. So I think certain players need to get a few more minutes. But that's the thing. Right now, maybe is the squad too big? Are there too many players who have?
I think Potter himself has said that he's overwhelmed with the players.
A lot of new players to integrate into the team.
Look, you have to make everybody happy in the squad. Week in, week out, players will perform at probably training grounds, and they expect to start in games. And as a coach, you have this headache. Who do I start? You get it. So, I think next season, I don't know what the plan will be. If they would have to ship off some players and have a very sizable squad going into the season, that would help Potter.
I think they are planning on buying more players. I'm not sure about shaping the team, but just snap thoughts on Everton before we move it on. Is Sean Dyche saving Everton from relegation? He has some tough fixtures to come, but is he the guy for the job?
I mean, he's definitely better than Lampard. That's definitely an improvement. He gives them a fighting chance. Whether it's enough, I'm not sure. And look, I've been saying this for weeks. I have my 4 relegation favorites, and the 4 of them, I believe at least 2 will go
Give me
down.
that 4 relegation favorites.
So I always say Everton, Leeds, Southampton, and Bournemouth.
Okay.
Between those 4, I expect at least 2 to go down. Very likely 3 of them will go down from the way I see it. And the way it's looking, I think Javi Gracia is making a bit of a difference. So I think right now it's Everton, Southampton and Bournemouth. Those are the three I think are most likely to go down. I think Leeds are kind of pushing themselves out of there. And there's two teams who I thought were too good to go down in West Ham and Leicester. They are looking a bit shaky for me. It looks like even despite their squad, they are making life difficult for themselves. So, but I still have Leeds on my watch list. But they've started well under Javi Gracia. If they get a few more results, I think I'll take them out of the relegation, guys.
Well, let's get to some other bits of action. Let's do a quick mix with the FA Cup because it was a mix of FA Cup and Premier League action. Let's get to that game between Manchester City and Burnley. So it was Pep Guardiola coming up against Vincent Kompany, his former captain. You know how Guardiola does, talks to you about how much quality you have in your team before giving you the spanking. That's exactly what happened at the Etihad. Let's check out the highlights of that one. Manchester City in ruthless form in the FA Cup. Gabby, quick thoughts on that game. Erling Haaland, another hat-trick. This was hat-trick number 6.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
More than every other Premier League player combined in all competitions.
Well, I think I wasn't surprised about the
hat-trick number 6.
I didn't see
only 5 other players in the Premier League. Premier League players have scored hat-tricks this season.
The guy is just abusing the Premier League, Charlie.
Nah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but to be honest, I didn't see a 6-0. I knew City were going to progress, but especially the way the goals just came in so quickly for Haaland. Vincent Kompany back to the Etihad, fire of baptism for him. He didn't start. I think they played very good in the few 13 to 15 minutes. They were able to hold City a bit. I think they were trying to. I don't know whether they were trying to match City in terms of the way.
He's completely changed the identity of that team.
Yeah, because look, if you look at the Burnley used to play under Sean Dyche, it was a different team, and against under Kompany, they look like a very good team. In the Championship, they are doing so good. If you look at the way they played against City, they were very expansive. And for a team to come in and be that expansive against the master of who knows how to do it best, that's Pep, you're not going to get things good for you. So, I mean, City were always going to triumph over Burnley. I think it was a very good display from Haaland himself to set in that record, 42 goals in all competitions. That's ridiculous, Ben. Look,
the record by Premier League players is 44.
Oh, and he's over 42 already?
Yeah.
Who holds the record? Ronaldo?
No, it's between Ruud van Nistelrooy and Salah. They both have 44 each.
I think he's even going to.
It's about to fall.
I think that record is finished.
He's definitely hitting 50 before the season ends.
And looking at the way he's playing.
I think so. 50 is very likely.
It's ridiculous because he has about 10, 11 Premier League games to go.
But we have to say something. When we talk about Messi and Ronaldo, I believe Messi and Ronaldo have scored 50 goals 6 or 7 times.
They've done it so many times.
So when people start comparing Haaland to those guys,
those two guys are not human.
Just remember how often they were doing the 50, 60
There was a point where it was thought to be a disappointment if they didn't get 50 on the season. Like, wait, you didn't score 50?
And you know what's interesting? Before then, when a striker scored 30 goals,
it was a big deal. In fact, 20 was a big deal back in the day. Back in the days of Christian Vieri and Vincenzo Montella, 20 was a big deal for you in a league season. So the standards have gone.
Standards have changed.
Yeah, standards have changed. Interesting thoughts there, but just thoughts on Kompany and Burnley.
I just want to say something about playing against Man City. Even if you are decent and you have a good game, and the ball drops a certain way in the box, your game plan is gone because Haaland will sniff the goal out, So when I look at the goals Haaland scored, some of them were great work from the midfield. Some of them too were, look, you've kind of defended it. The ball is deflected, and he's just there to score the goal.
Yeah.
So all of these things, look, sometimes you have to feel some pity for some of these teams because you look at, and the Leipzig is a good example. The ball just kept falling where he had to be, It happens like that.
Nose for the ball.
Nose for the ball. But look, Burnley are doing very well in their championship. This would be a disappointing way for their FA Cup to end, but they are very likely to be in the Premier League next season. So the season is probably going to be a success. I don't remember how many points they are clear, but if you look at the table,
it's 13 points.
They are 13 points clear. Yeah, exactly. They are flying in the championship. It's not a matter of if, it's when they will gain promotion and probably when they will win the championship again. So it looks like they've kind of rebounded from getting rid of Sean Dyche very well. So and they've rebranded their style. So I think everything has worked out in the long term.
Vincent Kompany doing well with Burnley Football Club. got spanked by his old head coach Pep Guardiola. A lesson.
He's not yet there. He's not yet ready to challenge them.
A lesson
Actually, that is what you expect when he comes in the Premier League.
Yeah,
it's going to get a lot.
It's just an awakening.
Exactly. Even Arteta, he took a few beatings from the master before. So
just to show you the ropes and just tell you who is boss. Let's get to that game between Man United and Fulham. Fulham started off on a bright note. It was a promising game. In the end, United just had too much quality. Let's get to the action. Wow. So 60 seconds of madness and 3 individuals getting sent off. First off, Marco Silva, head coach of Fulham, getting sent off for antagonizing the referee over his decisions. And then Willian getting sent off for the handball incident. Mitrovic in a physical confrontation with the referee, also getting sent off there. So Fulham losing their heads and eventually losing 3-1. So that was something.
The word is disgraceful. Look, I can understand
because the game had not gone away from them at that point.
I think the problem was Willian. I believe Willian's handball was deliberate. His hand was close to his body, so he tried to be smart to do like this, to try and stop the ball.
Yeah.
I get it. Your hand, you see, his argument was my hand was close to my body. You are right, your hand was, but we saw your hand move. So the referee goes to the monitor.
Yeah.
He's not made this, he's looking. And Marco Silva just starts yelling at him and gets the red card. And I think coach always says this, as the head coach or a manager of a team, you set the tone emotionally.
Yep.
He should have relaxed. He should have been trying to calm his players down, but he was rather yelling at the referee and got himself sent off.
The players were feeding off
so
that
the players
energy.
are feeding off it. The referee goes on the pitch. So everyone knows he's talking about Willian. So he's at the center circle when he pulls the red card for He points to the spot, pulls the red card for Willian. And Mitrovic kind of slaps his arm and kind of gets in his face and also gets a red card. So by the time Mitrovic they didn't even show him slapping the hand. By the time Mitrovic is in his face, which we saw on the monitor, he had already been sent off.
Yeah.
So in that 1 minute or 2 minutes, Fulham lost their head coach and their 2 best attacking players, just like that. Because look, you lose Willian, it's a problem. There's a penalty about to be played, and we know Man United, they don't miss penalties that often. You, Mitrovic, as one of the leaders of the team, you should be keeping a cool head, but you've lost it and now you're 9 men. And we saw that once they were 9 men, look, that second goal, I don't know if the minute was showing on the TV. Literally 2 minutes after Mitrovic is off, that second goal is scored, and that's the game. Because you all know that with the 9 men, they are not doing anything. They are not getting a goal. They are not. How are they going to even attack? And there's a reason it's 11 against 11.
Yeah.
Even 10 men is hard, but 9 men.
Yeah, it's literally impossible.
So it was. Look, I blame the coach, and I blame Mitrovic.
Yeah, they were having a good game actually.
Yeah. Up until the red card.
I'm less harsh on Willian because look, he was a bit desperate, ball on the line. He was trying to kind of.
It's a split-second decision.
It's a split-second decision. Look, it happens. It was the wrong decision, but in Willian's case, it happens. And the thing is, the rule is very clear. If you block a goal with your hand,
it's a red card.
It's a red card. The rule is very clear. And it happened in the Nantes-Juventus game, the Europa League, a few weeks ago, where the player fell. He actually fell. But because his hand blocked Di Maria's shots from entering, even though he fell,
he was still sent off.
He was sent off. Everyone understood it was a harsh decision, but the rule is the rule. So even Willian, who we could see move his hand, but look, the Fulham players, they reacted so poorly. Yeah. And I like Mitrovic. I think he's had a very good season. I think Fulham have done very well. They could be challenging for Europe. But I think what Mitrovic has done, they need to send a message. Because look, English football is having an issue getting new referees. The reason is that at grassroots level, referees are reporting attacks. They are reporting that players and fans have been attacking them. So the people who want to ref are intimidated and scared. So they are not getting enough referees. So even 2 seasons or a season ago, 2 or 3 Premier League referees wanted to retire. They had to be begged to referee for another year because they didn't feel like there were enough referees coming up. If you're in a country, the refereeing shortage, and on one of the biggest stages, someone is so confrontational and aggressive to the referee.
Mitrovic is a big guy. He's like 6'5".
Yeah. It doesn't even matter if he's the smallest guy on the pitch. You have to set an example. Yeah. So if Mitrovic gets a 4-5 game ban, I think that's the minimum that he should be getting. And I hope they make an example of him. Even if he gets 10 games, I'll be very okay. They can ban him until the end of the next season. I'm very okay. It can be 6 months. I'm very okay. Look, they have to send a message to Mitrovic that the behavior is unacceptable and he needs to be dealt with. And Marco Silva too.
Yeah.
I don't think his will be as much because he wasn't physically confrontational.
Yeah.
But you can't accost the referee whilst he's trying to look on the monitor and see what's happening. You can't do that.
We'll see. Interesting days ahead. Just quick thoughts on United's part of things. They took advantage. They were wailing about the absence of Casemiro and not having a midfield, and then Fulham served the game to them on a silver platter.
Yeah, I think Fulham have themselves to be blamed, especially from, like what Susie said, Marco Silva needs to put himself in a very good shape for players to look at you and draw some bit of inspiration or energy from you. But for you to do that, I don't think that you are churning out good energy. But for United, up until even the red card came in, they were not a side that looked like they were going to progress, because I think Fulham had things in control up until the red card and all that. So United will have themselves on a very good front. They'll look at this and pick up the positives from it, especially how they fared without Casemiro in it. I think Sabisa got the third goal, right? And
the second one.
The second one. That's good for the team. It's a good win against Fulham. I just hope that they build on this, looking at how they are. How long is Casemiro? I think 3 games.
Yes, it's 3 more games.
So he has 3 more games to go?
Yes. Yeah. You see, the first red card is 3. First straight is 3. Second straight red is 4. Third straight red is 5, etc., etc., as you know.
So we'll see how they'll fare in that games without him. And that's going to be very crucial without a player who's been so instrumental with them. I think that United would be good. They look at this game and they'll think that they'll have a very good chance going forward.
Well, update from El Clasico says that Barcelona lead Real Madrid by 2-1 right now. So that's the update for you on the Clasico. Let me read a few messages coming in. This one here is from Nuti Fafa from Applaus. Says that, hi Ben and team, Graham Potter is Chelsea's weakest link. The earlier we get rid of him, the better. A coach who can't do or who can't effect a simple substitution, is that one to a coach? This one here says, Champion Club Accra Hearts of Oak will win the league. Sami Tuga from Farm Milk. Please, I'll be happy if you can show Osimhen's goal highlights. We'll see if we have that in the mix. This one here says that Suleimana was brilliant yesterday. His take on was spot on, and I think he's getting more confident on the ball as well. Locomotion from Kentampo says, you can't even score Everton and you want to win the Champions League? Hey, Chelsea. This one here is from Nana Kofi from Mampon Ekuapim. It's unfortunate the kind of coach Chelsea has now, a coach who doesn't know how to make changes and when to stay focused. It's unfortunate Chelsea couldn't win over the weekend. Happy birthday to Kate in Tema. So you sneaking a shout out into that message in that one. This one here, this one is from Nana Ofosu Sperry from Kumasi. Says, good evening and thanks for the wonderful work you are doing. I'm a Spurs fan, but Conte must go. So somebody who is a Spurs fan not happy with Antonio Conte. Richard Opari from Teshi says, I like to say Man United will go on to win the FA Cup. Kamal Ding and Salisu, I think they will get new clubs to play very soon. Okay. Mubarak from Akachi says, I think Potter hasn't learned his lessons. He should stick to one team and stop rotating the squad. Okay. Chelsea fans in there. Omar the poet from Ho says, I'm just sad we take a step forward and 2 steps back. You sub Pulisic and still had Mudryk on the bench. I mean, how? Potter must go. So some Chelsea fans not happy there. Let's take our final break on the show. When we come back, we have some more action from some other leagues. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let's do our final bit of Premier League action before we get to some other leagues. Arsenal Football Club, they were up against Crystal Palace. Remember, Crystal Palace have fired Patrick Vieira, who is a former Arsenal player. He was hoping that he could convince his directors to change direction with perhaps a good result against Arsenal. He wouldn't last that long. They were thrashed in the end. There was no new manager bounce for none of that stuff. Let's get to the Arsenal versus Palace game. So Susu's theory proving strong once again. Arsenal making light work of the smaller opposition. 4-1, big thrashing for them. But just quick thoughts on the Vieira bits before we even get into this game. No win in all of 2023. Apparently he was on his way to the training ground when he received this call that it didn't really matter and that training was going to be taken over from him by somebody else, he had been fired.
Well, this defeat proves my point that it was a hasty decision, because you look at the games they've lost and drawn this year. I know they've not played, they've played other teams. They played City, they've played who, they've played that. Every game they've lost has been by 1 goal. And then there have been a few draws. So if you think about it, this is the first, even though they've not won since December 31st of last year, this is the first defeat that they've been defeated by more than 1 goal.
Yeah.
And it's right after Isaac Vieira. So clearly, I don't know, maybe if Vieira was here and they lost like this, maybe fine. But the point is, I don't think things were as bad as they made out. Because I think when you were looking at some of the games they played, there may be 1 or 2 they could have won or should have won. But if you look at the teams they were playing, most of them were above them on the table. They weren't playing a lot of teams that were below them. They weren't playing a lot of teams around them, like in that relegation fight that they should have been beaten. So for me, the easy games were coming. If maybe after 3 or 4 easy games, he's still not able to get the win, you pull the trigger. But as it stands, you've pulled the trigger just before you are about to get into an easy patch. You're now going to bring another coach who's now going to figure things out. And your defense, which was previously strong, doesn't look as strong. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few games. If they survive, it will be a good decision. Because fair enough, you don't care if you are 17th or 12th if you are Crystal Palace, really. You just care you are still in the division. So if they survive, it will be justified.
Do they have a right to feel entitled to Premier League football based on investments made, looking at what their rivals are doing?
I mean, if you've been in the Premier League for 9 years, you assume that you'll be in it for the 10th year. It's just how it is. They've been in the league so long, they consider themselves a Premier League team. This is not a situation where they've been here 2-3 years. They are thinking to yourself that we are still trying to establish us. They've established themselves. They've never been a strong top half team, but they are established. They keep surviving. So they are within their rights to think, if they feel they are being dragged into a relegation fight, that they should change so that they can stay in the league. That may be their thinking. But for me, I think it was a hasty decision. And the new manager settling in a period where they should be playing their easier games. And look, I read an article on The Athletic about how usually when you sack a manager at this time of the year, you are the most you gain is 1 place. That's it, 1 place. That's if you are lucky. More often than not, the place doesn't change. Because by this time, the table is set. In this case, with the relegation battle the way it is, things could, be a bit more chaotic. You could, because like you said, there's 4 points between the bottom and Crystal Palace in 12th. So really, there's not much room. Anything can happen, because in 2 weeks, you'll be talking about Crystal Palace being last very easily.
Very possible.
Not last, but in the relegation zone. But I still think that Vieira and the team, there was some synergy there was some cohesion. I feel like it was a hasty decision. But hopefully they stay in the league. But look, they need a lot of... there's a serious rebuild going on, because a lot of players are out of contract. A lot of players are older. I still don't think Vieira has gotten a lot of new players to build, because he's trying to build a new identity with the same teams. The main difference is they have Anderson and Gehi, who are ball-playing centre-backs. That's the only major difference for me.
And Anderson is on loan, actually. He's not he doesn't even belong to them.
Yeah, exactly. So look, it's not the most
conducive environment to work in. Just thoughts on Arsenal. They didn't mind. It was a bounce-back performance for them. Bukayo Saka having quite the season.
Yeah, that's another test passed by the Gunners, because look at the way
8 points now between them and Citi, who are in cap action.
And look, I think we have to give the title to them. Look,
already, yeah,
because I think what would be very key is that clash against
Manchester City.
And that's where it's a big test for them to see if they can go past Manchester City. But it will be a difficult one. On this game, look, they play very good football. And I always say that if you have your key men, your quality players stepping up, so the likes of Martinelli, the likes of Saka, Thomas Partey himself was decent. If they're able to step up each and every match week, you're always going to have yourself with the most points. That's the 3 points. And that's what Mikel Arteta did. It was a London derby. Palace without Patrick Vieira sacking them. Of course,
won 9 London derbies.
Yeah, you expect them to.
You mean they discipline everybody in their city? Yeah. They own the city.
London is not just red. The soil is red. The water is red. The air is red. Well, the sky is red.
Yeah. this season you expect them to perform. I mean, Crystal Palace to put up a good shift, but because of a new manager bounced in, but it didn't happen for them. I don't know what was running into. I think probably the pressure to play at the Emirates also got to them, and Arsenal will always thrive on their fans performing for them. So I think it was a very good win for Mikel Arteta's side. Mm-hmm. And you look at the display, I had a little bit of a concern with William Saliba not starting. But I think
he's injured. Yeah. He's back, and apparently he'll be out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Rob Holding came in to fit in very, very decent, and I think that it's a very good one. You know, I've already had concerns about Arsenal's squad depth.
They bought a Polish centre back from
but you see, he is left-footed. And you know, managers, they don't like to play two left-footed centre backs. It's not something.
So you're having Gabriel him.
So like, if it's anything, you would expect it to be Gabriel and Ben White, and maybe if Tomiyasu is fit, he will play at right back, and they'll go back to last season's defense. Then Zinchenko, but Tomiyasu is also injured, so I think that's why he stuck with White at right back and went with Holding.
You're just making a point on Holding. Just finish up.
Yeah. I think he stepped in very, very good. You know, the thing about him is that Holding can give you a very good 80-90 minutes, and just one mistake just covers all his done in one game. But I think in this game against Crystal Palace, he was very decent, and that's a very good one for them. For me, I'm excited that they got kicked out of the Europa League, because now you get to concentrate. You get to concentrate on the Premier League. You can't have your team playing so many competitions. And if you look at Mikel Arteta, clearly you can tell that it's just one thing on his mind, to win the Premier League. And I think that it was very good for the Gunners. So a good shift from Crystal Palace, from the Gunners to get that 4 goals against Crystal Palace. It's a very good win for them.
Let's get to the Italian Serie A, where Napoli are putting the finishing touches on what will be a Serie A winning season. They were up against Torino, blistering performance from them. Victor Osimhen doing his thing once again. Big ups to the Nigerian brothers out there. Nigeria have such a strong strike force out there. It's kind of scary.
I'd actually take their 4th best striker for the Black Stars.
Imagine.
Whoever is their 4th best striker, I'll take him when I look at their options.
Yeah.
Our strikers,
Osimhen, Kelechi, Terem Murphy. I think they have Taiwo Awoniyi.
Yeah. There's a few. Yeah. And Awoniyi is not even in the squad.
Interesting.
So
imagine Nigeria doing their thing out there. We'll take Torino, Napoli, and then we'll take Udinese and AC Milan. Really good game as well. Udinese teaching AC Milan a lesson or two. Let's get the highlights of those 2 games. We'll come back in studio and discuss. So Victor Osimhen doing his thing, AC Milan losing. So just thoughts on Osimhen, Serie A top goal scorer. The reports say that he's eyeing a move to the Premier League.
He said it before that he's a Chelsea fan. He wants to play for Chelsea. He has said that, but I don't know whether right now Chelsea
have dished out a lot of money already.
Yeah, he's mentioned that, So look, every player right now, every
Chelsea fans, would you like Osimhen? I mean, right now you have Kai Havertz and Dacho Fofana. Let me know. Would you want Osimhen in your setup?
This is a question. Which team doesn't want Osimhen? I think the only.
Don't forget, Chelsea still have Lukaku.
It's about the team ready to splash.
Honestly, I think the only teams who will say that, okay, maybe we don't want him right now would be Liverpool. Man City. Liverpool will take him over Darwin Núñez.
I mean, if still having Núñez alongside him, if they are trying to grow Núñez, that would be.
But Núñez sometimes plays on the left, But look, I think the only teams that will say that they are okay would be Real Madrid, Barcelona, because they have Lewandowski, and Man City. I think every other team in the world will take Osimhen in some way. They will find a way to fit him in. Look, as they said, he has 21 goals. He's leading the top scorer charts. He's on course to be the first African to win this award. So this is very impressive. It's very interesting that it's him and Ademola Lookman who are kind of challenging. I thought Ciro Immobile would be winning Capo Canonieri number 5 because he keeps winning the top scorer titles. Every time he plays for Italy or for another team, he just doesn't perform. But this is a 4-time Serie A top scorer. That aside, I thought it was going to be him and Vlahovic this season. But Osimhen has come from nowhere. He's leading the title charge. Him and Kvaratskhelia they are playing amazing football. Yeah. Look, it's Napoli's title to lose, but I just want to say something small. If Juventus had not been deducted 15 points, they'd be about 6 points behind. And things will be a bit different for Napoli. And that case is still in court. So the 15 points deduction
it could be restored.
It could be overturned. So let's keep an eye out for that. But look, aside that, there's really no threat. Because look at Inter lost to Juventus. Inter, who should be closing the gap. Milan, who should be closing the gap, also lost. Roma, who should be closing the gap, also lost. So if you look at the Serie A table, the teams that are supposed to make Napoli's life difficult keep slipping. And the teams that are way behind keep doing. So the only team really who are doing well is Juventus. Juventus are back in 7th. In fact, I believe they are 5 points behind out of 4th, you know, despite the minus 15.
They might still make Champions League.
They might still make Champions League with the minus
it's 7
15.
points actually.
Yeah, look, they are climbing up the table. They are steaming up. Look, but it's Napoli's to lose. They are facing Milan in the Champions League, and if Milan keep playing like the way they are playing, I said on Sports Panorama, Milan can win that tie very easily. This is a game that you play them twice a season. You know each other. You know how to stop each other. But if Milan are as sloppy as they were, we saw the goals, very sloppy goals to give away. You know, and they are not creating that much. If they play like they've been playing in the last few weeks, Napoli are going to give them 3 at the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, then give them 2 at the San Siro for good measure if they don't get fix up. So look,
that looks like a pounding.
It is absolutely going to be. So there's a lot to work on, but credit to Napoli because they've been starving for this title. They've not won a title
1987?
since maybe I think Maradona won one.
The first one was in 87.
87 and maybe another one in 1990 or something like that.
1990, yeah.
Yeah, so look, it's been years. That's just, and that's the thing. There's literally been nothing in Naples without Maradona. Before Maradona, there was nothing.
Yeah.
After him, there's been nothing. So it would be great for
it's
a
a
Napoli
very
team
vibrant
to finally,
football city. Like they love their football.
It's the biggest city in southern Italy, and if you know a lot about Italian football, I'll just keep it brief. You add the titles that the clubs in the outside the north. Let's take away
Juventus.
In the north, Juventus have won like 30.
Yeah.
Milan and Inter both have like 18. The teams in the south, and let's even add Rome in the south. Roma have like 3. Lazio have like 2. Napoli have like 2. Cagliari, which is an island, let's just even add them for spice, have 1. And then the rest of the titles are concentrated in the north. So every title in the south is a big deal. Big deal. Look, I always say a title in the south is worth 5 in the north. So it will be a very big
Just snap thoughts on Osimhen and even Milan. Milan not looking good at all.
Yeah, but before I even get into that, I think I would want to look at the players Napoli are using or playing under Spalletti this season. Look, it's not like they are, quote-unquote, your biggest football names. So even look at their defense. They have South Korean Kim
and Rahman.
Zambo Agriza. I think the last time he was with Fulham or so.
Fulham. And he didn't cover himself in glory at Fulham.
The only player who in Dries Mertens' era, that's in that era under Sarri, it's the only player who is there is, I think, Zielinski.
Yeah.
I stand to be corrected. And if you look at this place,
even some of them were there, but they
weren't.
Lobotka had a really good season. I think he doesn't get a lot of mention. Lobotka, he's had a really good season.
Lobotka is, when you play number 6, it's quite efficiency.
Yeah.
The reason we are talking about Casemiro and Manu is because Manu have not had a proper 6 for years. So it's a big, but most teams, your number 6 just does his work quietly.
But I think Spalletti has done really well with the crop of players.
I didn't trust him when he was coming in, though, because I've seen his previous failures.
And let's be honest, last season they started very well, and their form dropped off. So it's not a surprise they are playing this well. It's more a surprise that they haven't slowed down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are in a very good position to win the league. If you look at it, it's 71-52. That's huge. Yeah. I don't see them blowing it off anytime soon. That's why I feel they can really get more focused on the Champions League, that tie against AC Milan. Because, look, it's more of like the league is already...
If they can get to the Champions League final, that would be huge.
Yeah, it's done and dusted.
Funny enough, if you look at the betting odds right now, I believe Man City are favorites and Napoli are second.
Wow.
Because I think their draw, looking at their draw, I don't...
Their path looks very...
Would you expect Napoli to lose to Benfica, Inter Milan or AC Milan? We've seen them in the same league as 2 of those teams, and they are clearly better. And Benfica are playing very well, but I don't think they can handle Napoli.
We don't have too much time. We're trying to squeeze in as much as possible. Let's get to El Clasico. I'll talk you through this one. Barcelona beating Real Madrid by 2-1. Let's get the visuals of that game. Yeah, so there you have it in your shots there. Real Madrid in possession in this one. Real Madrid needed to win this one because it's not been a solid season in the league at all for them. They were away, I believe. I think this was at the Camp Nou.
Yes, and this is their first goal. So it deflected off Araujo's head. So Vini Jr. tried to get the crossing and it kind of hit Araujo's head and went in. So that's how they kind of opened their scoring.
And look at this again. Some very sloppy defending. Had 2 opportunities to clear that chance. Did not in the end. What was that, Lewandowski?
Sergio Roberto.
Sergi. Yeah, so getting the goal there, 1-1. Nacho not looking too happy there. Clásicos are always such a big deal, regardless of how it is. So Gavi and the Catalan fans there in a bit of a frenzy. Rudiger not looking too happy with himself.
And Madrid needed to win this because now that Barca have won, their gap is what, 14 points?
It's 12 points.
12 points.
Yeah.
It's
12 points now.
Yeah, the title is Barca's.
Yeah.
How many games left? About 10, 11?
It doesn't matter. 12 points. Unless it's the first half of the season.
Well, there we have it there. Yeah, that's a replay of that goal that was scored. I think that was some really poor defending.
Yeah, when the
very
ball
poor
bounce now.
defending.
I wonder what Barca have on their shirts. You know they do the Spotify deal, so
Yeah.
they do like different artists. I have to go and find out. Maybe I should try their music. It's
Barcelona
it's a good luck
they are an interesting case study for any business students in the university anywhere. They are having quite the season with regards to all their scandals and all their financial maneuverings. But there you have it in your shot. Let's see if we can find the winning goal. Cut across.
So Balde to
Frank Kessie. So Frank Kessie left. I mean, Balde doing all the hard work there for. Yes, so Balde doing all the hard work there. Frank Kessie keeping his composure and getting the winning goal in the Clasico there. Big win, Gabi. Big win for Barcelona.
Yeah, I'm still struggling to understand how Madrid all of a sudden crumbled this season, especially in the La Liga. I think they started quite well when the season started. And I'm not too sure.
They had a distraction of the Club World Cup as well.
I mean, you have to remember that Barca have conceded like, 9-10 goals in the league?
Wow.
Let's remember. It's like Barca don't concede. And Madrid are having a lot of games where it's like they are unable to get that goal. So they've had a lot of draws that shouldn't be draws. And I think that's what's eventually caused it.
Yeah, Barca have considered just 9 this season. Yeah. And that's very good.
That's gone under the radar.
But it was 8 at a point, and I knew they conceded.
A lot of people haven't
I was trying to think
that.
if there was another game.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're able to keep this number of clean sheets or this number of less goals conceded, I think that you're always in a good position to clinch the title. And I mean, to get this one over their rivals, I think they already beat them in the Copa del Rey.
Yep.
And they've beaten them again in
the
Super Cup too. And this again at their own backyard. Look, they've gotten bragging right. They get the title. It's already theirs. And I think that this win is very huge for Xavi. I think this is one of the things
Madrid really need to win the Champions
League. To beat
League.
Madrid back to back. That's huge for Barca.
I think Madrid need to win the Champions League, or it's not going to be a fun season. And it reminds me of...
Maybe that's what they are focused on.
It reminds me of, I believe, was it 2007? When, right after Calciopoli, Inter won the league for the first time, and Milan won the Champions League. And Ambrosini had a famous banner on the the open top parade telling the Inter fans to put the Scudetto somewhere else, if you know what I mean, because they had the Champions League. So that's really all Real Madrid have. Because
hasn't it gone numb on them? I mean, they've won the Champions League so many times in such a short space.
It's the taunting, right? You have to still be able to say, look, we've won the last time you won is 2015. We just keep winning it. We have 15. You have 5. Those things matter. And it would be like, oh, we've won the league. Okay, have the league. We've won the real trophy.
Yeah.
You know, they need something, because even the Spanish Cup won't be enough.
Yeah. Let's do Bundesliga, and let me skip that Dortmund game and do. Dortmund have gone top of the table. However, they beat Cologne by 6-1. They're top of the Bundesliga, but Bayer Leverkusen were up against Bayern. They did a stunner against them. Let's get to the highlights of that one just real quick before we leave you with something. So let's get to the highlights of that game. Argentine international Ezequiel Palacios, ice in his veins, 2 penalties, delivered the win against Bayern Munich. Just quick thoughts. It looks like Bayern just might not win the league this season. They have the distraction of the Champions League as well.
Don't worry, they are playing Dortmund on April 1st. So we'll see how they
have Manchester City to deal with.
Dortmund have always been in this situation.
Yeah.
They've always...
They sometimes even held it late and then still blew.
That's why I say it's the same thing that even though I have confidence in Arsenal against the smaller teams and all of that, they still have to play Man City. And if you get beaten, let's say 3-0 at the Etihad, it can shake your confidence. So all those things are part. Because imagine Dortmund and Bayern play their game. I believe it's on April 1st. I'll have to check that.
Yeah.
And Bayern beats Dortmund 5-0 or something. The psychological impact of that 5-0 is different. So I still believe that Bayern are still favorites. Maybe if they have a 3-point lead and there's like 3 games left, I'll change my mind. But as of now, I'm still backing Bayern to win the league. It's still theirs to lose, despite the hiccup. They will lose games. No team is perfect, but I still believe they are going to be more perfect and more consistent than Dortmund in their running.
That's quick.
For me, I would say that I really hope Dortmund can keep up with the momentum and try and cement their position at the top of the table. Because look, I mean, for them to beat, I think they beat Cologne 6-1, and to see Bayern Munich lose, and it's really just joy for them. They can just build on this and get one over their rival. So
I hope they win, because I think Bayern winning 11, 12 years in a row, whatever it is, it's not good for them.
It's the Gardeners League, like I said the last time. It's not. They've gone beyond being a Farmers League. They need to do something about it.
Isn't a gardener a level below a farmer?
I mean, look, you're supposed to be below, but that's how bad it is. Like
this one is a plantation league, though.
And the French league, what?
Oh, but the French league, PSG lose every other year.
What's it called about? Thank you, Susu. Thank you, Gabi. That's our show for today. Arsenal fans, I'm sure you guys are happy. Borussia Dortmund fans also celebrating being top of the Bundesliga table. It's been absolutely amazing coming your way. Thanks to everybody who made this happen. Thanks to you guys out there for sending us your messages and your thoughts. Same time next week, you know where to find us on Scorecard.